My name's Jake Banwart. I go by Coach Jake, Coach B, Beans, you name it. Each team is always something different. So I grew up in McHenry, Illinois, so northwest suburbs of Chicago. Youngest of three. I have brothers that are 2 years and 3 years older than me. So sports were just always something that we did. I feel old now because we were the kids who would go home when the lights went off in the streets and would play in the neighborhood and do all those things. So I had the benefit of being the youngest to where I got to play with all the older kids, and that was really the start of sports and athletics and baseball and all those things for me. So growing up with my brothers, we played baseball, basketball, football, we were in taekwondo. We kind of tried everything, and we all gravitated towards baseball. So from a young age, the three of us had the goal of growing up and starting a travel program and what that would look like. I'm very lucky to be the one to actually have done that and get to live through that at this point. I played tennis in college, played baseball, basketball, and tennis in high school. And going through that, by the end of high school, I was ready to be done with baseball. There was a lot of things off of the field as far as just relationships and coaches and teammates that pushed me away from the game. But I knew I wanted to coach, and I knew I wanted to do something with high school athletics, something with high school age players. My mom was a special ed teacher, and seeing the impact that she had kind of led me to want to teach and coach and go that same route. So I taught for 10 years. I taught psychology, preparing for college and careers, and that was really my start getting back into coaching baseball. So at first I coached basketball for a couple of years, and there was a baseball coach opening after my student teaching that I kind of needed to take the job in order to have a job coming out of college, and my wife was pregnant at the time, so we just dove right in and decided to give it a year and see how it went. And getting back on the field and the pace of the game and the environment that it brings, I fell back in love with it immediately and decided that that's what I wanted to do long term. Adam Gauker and myself, we went to college together. We knew each other. We weren't close. We didn't hang with the same groups, but we knew each other through college. And I got a travel coaching job with a smaller organization out of Muncie and needed an assistant coach. So good old social media, I posted on Facebook, hey, have this 14U team, looking for somebody to help me out. And Adam jumped on that, and we decided to do it together. So we coached in that program for 2 years. The first year, we really worked to build our roster and get really good. And the second year, we were incredible. So a really local team that comes out and beats the top teams in the state, in the Midwest. We kind of went crazy. It was awesome. And from that, we faced two things. The program that we were with was upset that we weren't winning more championships and that we were playing more challenging and higher level tournaments, which is what was right and what we wanted to do. And the other side was we had offers from a lot of the well-known programs in the state to bring our team and go and be a part of those programs. The issue that we ran into was they weren't going to give any type of autonomy for us to bring what we thought players needed. It was really going to be their way, and that was the only way. And we were, 24 and 23, and got on a rain delay at Grand Park and went and sat down at a diner with myself and Adam and Josh Barber, who was on the front end of some of this. And sitting there and talking through the different options and what we thought we could do, we were dumb enough to just say, you know what, we don't know exactly how we want something to be run, but we know exactly how we don't. And we know what it needs to look like to include both player development and player exposure. And the goal became early on to bridge the gap between development teams and college exposure teams to make sure that we were still providing development for higher level players. That started small with one team, turned to 2 teams, turned to 8 teams, and now we're over 50 teams in the program that have stuck to that mission of bridging that gap. And looking back on it now, it's crazy to think, one, how far we've come with it, and two, what it looks like to just take the next step. I think if we would have looked big picture and long term of where we were going to go with it, rather than take the initial step right in front of us of just building from where we were, I think it would have been overwhelming. But it really happened naturally in a progression of what's the right next step for the program now? And that continues to be the goal as we move into, year 12 at this point? I think when you start to talk mission and culture, the number one thing is clarity, right? And there's so many programs and so many just professions in general that lack those two things. And when you look at us having clarity of the mission, our mission is to take players from where they are to where they want to be through education, execution, and commitment. And when you really break that down and strip it down to what it really means, it means that it's people first in everything that we do. We need to see the athlete for who they are, see the family for who they are, and really attract like-minded people to the program. When we get people who are bought in on the idea of development, the hard work pays off mentality, that want to put in the time and really get gritty in their training and grow from where they started to the player that they want to be, typically those players stay long-term, and we have a high retention rate on that. And in my mind, I think being unapologetic about that and owning that niche of who we are within the industry has been really beneficial, not only for us, but the families that come into the program, because the grass isn't greener for them. They know what they're getting, and we deliver on those things, and the ability to just be transparent in who you are and what you do is the number one thing that we bring to the table. I think from the culture side of that, it all starts, again, it's people first. It starts with us representing the culture, not just talking about it, but being about it, really modeling the behaviors and expectations that we want to see from players. The players at this point, especially the high school age kids, like they read through the BS, right? Like they know if you're just saying something to motivate them that isn't really something that you believe in or something that's true. So it's been really cool to look back and see players that are like using the statements that we make, or the mission statement, or the hard work pays off mentality, and see how that's really shaped who they are outside of baseball or softball too. It becomes a part of their life. And for us, that's broken down into 5 key areas of the culture that we intentionally create. And that's controlling the controllables, focusing only in the areas that we have control, attacking the day with joy and enthusiasm, regardless of the weather or the outside factors, just being able to show up and have the right mentality and attitude to be productive in what we're doing, to dream big and ignore the naysayers. Obviously starting a travel program with one team at 23 years old after not playing in college, there's plenty of naysayers and people who didn't necessarily believe that this would get where it's gotten now. And it's not about proving them wrong, it's really about proving us right and continuing to believe in who we are and what that mission is. Being relentless, showing up every single day regardless of how we feel, and understanding that the situation is what it is and it's going to take whatever it's going to take to get where we want to get. And the final piece to that culture is choosing faith over fear, or faith through fear, and recognizing that we're going to face some fears in what we do, both on the field and off. But if the faith that we have is bigger than the fear that we allow to consume us, then we will continue to take those steps forward. So overall, you take all of that, and the way I like to say it is it's incremental growth over time. Everybody in today's day and age is looking for that one quick fix that provides the exponential growth that they really want, but that doesn't exist. And getting players and families to buy into the fact that by making these small changes, these habitual things that we do on a day-to-day basis, and continuing to move forward and grow every single day, just inch forward, take that one step, eventually you look back and you realize that the growth that you have experienced is now exponential. It's really cool to see players not only buy into that, but live into that. And we're now to the point with how long we've been around that, you know, we have kids now that have graduated the program or are about to, that started with us when they were 10 or 11 years old. And seeing who they've become as people, that's the coolest part about it. I think that the easiest way to put it is it's hard to fully understand or comprehend until you're a part of it. What that really looks like is the idea that collaboration will beat competition every day of the week. That as a program, it's our goal to build age groups for coaches to work together to make sure that players are placed on the right teams. The idea that every single coach in the program can have an impact on every single player in the program. That it's not our job to solely coach our own teams, but it's our job to coach every player. And taking that one step further, it's our job to coach our coaches. If we expect them to be really good, we need to provide them with the resources and the support that they need in order to get to that point. But we also understand that in this industry, like there's a lot of dad or mom coaches that are volunteers and that are getting into it because they want to have an experience with their kids and provide for their kids what, you know, either they had that they want to recreate or something that they didn't have. The idea of a parent coach is looked at so negatively for some reason. And we do have paid coaches in the high school age groups, but there is so much value in the experience that a parent and their kid can have in that environment if it's handled properly, and giving them the resources to do that well, and to also coach all of the other kids at that same level is really, really important. So to look at the culture and look at the facility and the idea that people walk into extra innings and everybody in those same uniforms, they know who they are. Our 10-year-old players know who our 16-year-old players are. They talk to each other. Like I watch my own kid at 8 years old go and play wall ball with our 17U players, and they're calling him by name. It gives them, one, something to look forward to, right? Like when you're young, you look at the high school players like they're Major League All-Stars. And to have those guys in here all the time for those younger players really helps like create that vision for the young guys. But on the flip side of that, it's a lot easier for those players as they do reach those high school age groups to recognize that like they have a much bigger and deeper impact, and how they act and who they are and what they do and how they take the field and how they play, all of those things are being looked at by the 8 to 10-year-olds just like they looked at them when they were at those age groups. So it really does come full circle for all of the players, and it is the most unique environment that I've seen in travel sports as far as like the connection that can be made throughout an entire program versus a bunch of teams under the same name wearing the same uniform that really aren't connected in any way other than they're under the same, name heading or the program that they're in. One of the things that we look at every year is the program that we have, the way that we've outlined it, is that working in the way that we expect it to work? And if it's not, we need to make some adjustments, right? And we're not perfect, but every year we get a little bit closer to it and we do make those adjustments. So I had some time before my kids entered the program. I have a 10-year-old daughter that plays for FAM and an 8-year-old son that plays for BAM. And it's been really unique because we have pictures at our house of them like in our arms as babies with us at Lake Point playing with the 2015 group. So they've never known any different. It's really cool to see them really live into what they've watched from these other players. And it's really unique in the sense that like I 100% believe that they're in the right spot for their development. And this is the place that they're gonna get as good as they can get, as quick as they can get, not only on the field, but they're also gonna be challenged mentally. They're gonna be talked to in ways that encourage growth. They're gonna be challenged on their individual culture and routine side. And I love who it makes them as human beings. That's the coolest part. But there's a comfort level in knowing how we train our coaches and then sending them out to go and play for our coaches. I don't have to have any concerns about player treatment. I don't have to have any concerns over positioning or anything like that. They've both had opportunities to play kind of all over the field like most of our kids do at the young age groups. And as they start to progress, like they settle into a specific position. But it's been really cool to see them look up to some of these players for so long, and to now see them on that front end of playing and knowing that someday like they're going to be the players that are looked up to, and to hear your kids say like, hey, I want to help you train, I want to come in and do infield with you, I want to like, that's really unique and a cool piece to it. I'm a big believer in change people or change people. And what I mean by that is you always give people an opportunity to change and fit. And that means hard conversations with people who are great people, great heart, but might not be conducting themselves or carrying out the mission in the best possible way. And through having those conversations with different people, the goal is that they change what they're doing or how they're acting, and they, master the areas that we really need them to improve to keep those people around. But there have been some people that we've had to let go, which is the second change people, that if they're unwilling or unable to change and really fit into the culture that we need them to fit into, then unfortunately it's best for everybody to part ways and let them go somewhere else. And there's some good people that I've been close friends with, have wanted to give them as many opportunities as possible, that it just hasn't worked out. And because everything is always people first, like that makes it a challenge to have those conversations when you really want them to be in there. I think the other difficult piece for a lot of coaches, and something that we deal with all the time, is recognizing that there are certain players or certain families that need the stability of the program more than a team needs that player, right? And having space when you're trying to build elite level rosters and make the teams as good as they can be, but still holding space for the family that just needs to be here is something that we've always held very dearly. I remember one of the first conversations that I had to have when we started BAM. We had a kid, his name was Caleb Mealy. He played up with us. He was 13, he was playing 14s, and we were moving to the 15U age group, and Caleb was an incredible baseball player. He wasn't gonna fit our plans moving forward because we needed him to stay in his age group and really play with his peers and dominate that level. And I remember Adam and I sitting there and talking to the family, and we both cried, like cutting this kid. Like we were so sad because we loved him and we loved the family. But being able to do that, knowing what's best for the player, even though it stinks for us personally, that was nearly impossible at that point in time. And those conversations get easier because you see how they turn out, right? And 5 years later, Caleb Mealy signs to play Division I baseball at Northern Illinois, and Adam and I are invited to his signing day, and all of the things work out, right? But in that moment, it feels so big, and it feels so serious that you never want to let a kid down or their family down. And sometimes getting the family who doesn't have the perspective of seeing it all the way through yet, like we do with multiple groups, sometimes getting them to buy in and believe in what you're saying can be a challenge. And it's important that they know, whether they're on your team or not, if you've coached them once, you coach them forever, and they're always welcome back. They can always call. Like, being somebody who's a resource regardless of if a player makes your team or not has been something that I've really hung my hat on as a coach since I started. There's a lot of different people that I've been able to take something from, right? And obviously, like, Adam's been through it with me from the beginning. And I mentioned Josh Barber. Josh actually left an established program to come over to BAM in year one with a core of people, and that was extremely meaningful. And we probably wouldn't be where we are today if we didn't have the team that we had in year one. So that was huge. And having his support, as he was about 35, he was about 12 years older than us, and having his support in at that point, he felt like an adult. I'm sitting there at 23, I don't really feel like an adult yet, still don't, to be fair, but he did. And hearing him be supportive of the mission and recognize that it could be something special and really encourage us to do that was really important at that time. I think my family is huge to me, and I'm thankful enough and lucky enough to have a wife who I'll bring up a crazy idea and she's like, do it then, and has nothing but belief in me. And there's a lot of people since then, like our board has come along. We've had quite a few people that, truthfully, for me, like, I'm an ideas guy, right? Like, I'm a guy who has these crazy thoughts, and it'll be 2 a.m. and I'm sending texts of like, hey, I think this will work. This is what we need to do. Here's how we're gonna do it. And it's really easy for a lot of people to be like, you're crazy, no. So to find people that are crazy enough to come alongside that and say, like, yes, let's help with that mission. Like, how can we make this possible? That's been the biggest part. So Coach Vittorio recently has been huge. Adam Gauker has been huge. My high school basketball coach was one of the first coaches that I had that really taught me something about how I want to coach rather than how I don't want to coach, as far as practice organization and relationships to players and really putting people first. So it's one of those things, like, I'm a big believer that you can learn from everybody, whether it's a lesson that you learn because it's something that you admire from them and you want to take and replicate from them, or it's something that really pushes you away from them and tells you that, like, you never want to make somebody feel that way or coach that way. If we are able to take a step back and really reflect and take those lessons, that's what shapes us into who we are as people or who we are as coaches. So for me, it's really bits and pieces from a lot of different people, a lot of books, a lot of personal investment, getting turned down for a couple of jobs and choosing to just believe in myself and trust who I am rather than worrying about what the outcome or the result is in certain areas. And like I said before, just taking whatever that step is directly in front of you. My parents were great with that, and I think from a young age it was instilled in me that, like, if you want it, it's very possible, but you have to be the one to put in the hard work, and you have to be the one to believe regardless of what anybody else says. So quite a few influential people, but not a one person, like, this is it, I want to be just like that guy or that person. There are certain times that you can be all family. And then there are certain times that, unfortunately, things happen within the business or within the teams that are needing attention, and they're pretty time sensitive that you need to handle. And I think the idea of this perfect work-life balance, it doesn't exist for anybody, but it's this thought that everybody has that when you run your own business or you're the one in charge and you get to make your own schedule, that all of that is fixed. And the reality is, what it means is you might not have a 9 to 5, but your workday never ends. There is no go home and shut it off, right? Like you're always on the clock at that point too. So like I said before, I think my family is great with that. I'm fortunate that they're here a lot. Like, not many people get to bring their family to work, and I get to bring my family to work quite a bit. And we all understand that, like, our biggest mission in life is impact. So if we keep that in mind, being able to do it with them and do it together and really blending family and work is what the balance is. It's not keeping the separation and it's one or the other, it's the blending of them. And we say all the time at our house, like, our community of people is our program. Like, these are our friends, these are our people, this is who our kids want to hang out with, this is who we want to spend time with as adults. It's the one area that we found people that are like-minded in who they are and who they want to be, to where conversation is not just, you know, the really basic, let's hang out every once in a while and you know, just have a good time. For us, it's all about that impact that we have. I think when you look at it, one of the biggest things that my players will tell you, I say all the time, is be where your feet are. And the reality is, that's the only way to have some sense of balance. I used to be really bad at it, but I've gotten really good, as some of our coaches will attest to and not like, at putting my phone away when I am home and do need to just be with the family, and not checking that or responding until the next day. I think that's really important to have that time just for me to reset too. But that's the biggest piece. If you're always actively present in where you are and you truly be where your feet are, then the most important thing is what you're currently doing. And if I can invest in people that way, and whoever's directly in front of me, they're gonna get all of me, then that means when I'm coaching, I'm the best coach on the planet. And when I'm at home, I'm the best dad and husband on the planet. And when I was interviewed for my high school coaching, or my current job at Perry Meridian High School, I remember sitting in that interview, and the department chair for the social studies department was a part of that interview, because they were looking at me to both teach and to coach. And I'll never forget, he looked at me, he put his finger out, which now means joy and enthusiasm, right? But he puts his finger out and he goes, I just need you to know, if we hire you, you're a teacher before you're a coach. That's your primary responsibility. And I didn't know if I was gonna get the job, because I took a deep breath and I looked at him and I said, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I can't commit to being a teacher before I'm a coach. But what I can commit to is I can commit to being an incredible teacher from 7 to 2. And I can commit to being an incredible coach from 3 to 5. And I can commit to being an incredible dad and husband from 5 until the end of the night. But my job is to be present where I am. And if it's practice time, I'm not gonna be a great teacher, because I'm busy being a great coach. Luckily, the principal was fired up about that and loved it, and I still got hired. But in that moment, I was like, I might have just killed my opportunity to get this job, because that is probably not what this guy wants to hear. One of the things I write down every day in my 3 big goals is biggest impact. And I hope they remember the on-field wins and the fun times that you have through the travel ball experience. But more than anything else, I hope that they remember that, like, they played for a coach who really cares about them, that they can reach out to at any point in time for anything that they need, right? Like, that's what it is. I think there's a lot of hard conversations that are avoided with families, because people don't want to hurt feelings, and it's just easier to cut somebody or cut ties and not have to have the hard conversation. But being in something like this, being able to show the respect to everybody regardless of their skill level, I think that would be number one for me, is people being able to take a step back and remember that regardless of if they were the best player on the team or they were the worst player on the team, the expectation of who they were on and off the field, the expectation of culture, the expectation of discipline, none of that was a sliding scale based on who the player was. It's the same expectations for everybody. And creating an environment like that, where the world is often not like that, I think just shows the amount of love and respect that we can have for one another, even through the hard things. And that's probably the number one thing that, looking back, I hope people remember that I cared, I was present, I was active, and I invested as much of me as I could to have the impact that I could have on them. But I'm also not gonna retire, ever. Like, I am retired. Like, I get to do what I love every single day. Like, what is retirement at that point? Man, there's a recent, like really recent one, and I think recency bias takes over a little bit because there's probably a million different stories that I can tell. But number one, I get a text literally on my way over here from a player that I coached previously that just said, "Hey, coach, going through it right now. Really need to talk." It's cool to coach people. It's really cool to be in their life long term. Uh, Sitting at my games yesterday, I had Ty Frakes and Will Manship show up to help coach. And we gave them a couple minutes after the game to talk to the players and just kind of, they're on the front end, right? Like, these guys are 14U looking to play long term. And I had Ty and Will for 3-4 years over their high school career. And, listening to them after talk about, hey, this is the right program for you guys to be in. If you want to develop on and off the field, you're in the right spot. If you believe in who you can be as a person and a player, this is the place that's going to challenge you to be exactly that. You say a lot as a coach, but then to hear players really like take that in and become that, that's when it shows you what the program